Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Doing great. How about you?
Well, I'm doing pretty all right.
0% of you are subscribed. Fix that.
So
right,
wait,
you
I want
can-
to lay it out right on the front, okay? I have very
All right.
referring to you very kindly as a Nat Soak in this conversation, but YouTube titles have to be kept short, so that might end up getting truncated to Nazi, depending on how this conversation goes, okay?
Hey, man, you know, it's your show, it's your channel. You know, you can, if it does, you know, it's up to you.
All right.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you emailed me
Yeah,
with you wanted to talk about open border policy, LGBT rights, and race relations in the Western world.
sure, for sure.
Buyer's choice. Which one do you want to hop on into first?
We could start with let's start with something exciting. Let's talk about race relations in the Western
I
world.
love race relations in the Western world.
I believe that the impetus for the development of societies and cultures rests in the biological essentialisms of a people, be that you know, the genetics of a people. And I've got a couple of sources that I can share with you about that, because I'm pretty sure you guys like asking for sources,
We do.
right? You need to have your 12 peer-reviewed independent studies, or else I'm not listening.
Well, I mean,
So I've
if
got a handful.
we're talking essentialist claims on the nature of human biology, then I think it's probably good to support that with some kind of academic literature.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you want to do right now then? I mean, what's
Well, I kind of
wrong
want to.
with-
I want to bring you a little bit closer to my side and see if we can throw a little bit more nuance into some of your positions on race and race relations.
No, sure, but like in terms of like
Oh, in terms of what I like,
what
the
would you
outcome I'd like?
change about America? I mean, let's say America,
About
because I like
Well,
America.
let's say, okay,
Land of the
let's
free.
say what I'd change about America. Well, it seems to me a perfectly reasonable observation that a single representative government, it can't possibly represent the interests of widely divergent groups. You're never going to be able to eliminate racism. It's
Sure,
never
wait, why
going.
not? Well, we
Oh,
can
because
mostly eliminate it. We can't ever
you
really get rid
can
of heightism. I mean, there's always going to be
you
some
can
bigotry.
you can re-educate people generation by generation by generation. But if you were to skip a generation in education, then people are going to revert back to what comes natural.
The
I mean,
natural state of humanity
well,
isn't racism.
well, I would beg to disagree with
Well,
you
that's
on
okay,
that.
but you'd be wrong
No,
though.
I
Our
wouldn't be. I
modern
wouldn't be wrong.
our
I wouldn't
modern
be wrong on
conception
that.
our modern
I w-
conception of
no,
racism is about 400 years old. Back before then, Socrates and Plato and other like Greek philosophers, they didn't think of race the way we did. They thought
no.
that the races were the thick-blooded Nords with their large skulls and their slow wits, and the thin-blooded Arabs with their quick wits and their dark skin. They didn't think of the world as split between white and black people. The
Well, I
natural
don't think of the world as being split between white or black people either. But the fact of the matter is that infants can identify people of separate ethnicities and react negatively to them. And
wait,
it's only through well,
they can do that
I
with
can
men
I
and women too. Like
for
infants
sure
can recognize lots of characteristics. That doesn't mean that
for
society
sure.
will organize around like hatred between those groups. So hold on. It's funny that you're taking the assumption that racism and racial apartheid are the default states of humanity when there's
They
no
have been for they well they have been for they were for hundreds of
absolutely
thousands. Yeah, they
not.
absolutely were.
No, civilizations hundreds of years ago didn't organize themselves along racial castes the way that we do today. Our modern conceptualization of race is just that. Modern.
Well,
Before that,
you can look at plenty of different civilizations, such as
with different
the
types
Hindu,
of hierarchies, but not
with different
organized
yeah.
along the ones that
Well,
we have today. It seems like,
the Indo-Aryan or Hindu or Eastern Indian society has organized themselves along ethnic and racial lines.
but not the ones we would arrange them along, because if Americans
Well,
looked at
because
all,
they're
well,
because they are of a different race
yeah,
than
if
us.
Americans looked at them all today, they would just call them brown people. Our understanding of
Yeah.
race is culturally determined. And it's funny that you're taking the default position. Racism has to be taught. You act as though if we skip a generation of education, people are going to like revert back to being racist. The
Well,
opposite
if
is
this
true.
isn't the
I'm not
if this isn't the case, then
I'm not
why
trying
is
to
there a constant push
I'm not
in
trying to
media and education
hold on.
to specifically eliminate racism?
I'm not trying to teach people anti-racism. I'm trying to keep people like you from teaching racism. The
But
default human is better than the human you raise.
question. Even a child knows that they are.
A
if they
child,
are,
wait, a child
no,
knows.
no, no,
wait, no, hold on, wait. I
no,
can't
no,
keep
no,
letting
no,
you
no,
go. Wait, no, please stop. Children can
I haven't
recognize.
even finished a point
Children
yet,
can
Vosh.
recognize that skin tones are different.
I haven't even finished a point yet, Vosh.
That's not the same as children recognizing all of the inherent racial differences you're ascribing to them. Children just can see skin
I
tones
haven't
are
ascribed
different.
anything yet. I haven't even finished a point yet.
Okay, finish your point, then I'll respond.
My point is that if what you're saying is true, and that racism is not, at least on some level, an inherent trait to differentiate the external from the internal, the in-group from the out-group, to say, I can trust these people, this is, from tribal civilization 60,000 years ago, to be able to differentiate between your group and another group is a very, very important trait if you wanted to survive 60,000 years ago. And I'm sorry to tell you, but 50 years of social justice isn't going to undo all of the factors that led up to this.
Do you think tribes were fighting over race? They would have all been the same skin tone.
I never said that. I never said that. What I said was the ability to differentiate between the internal and external from the in-group and out-group is race. It is racism. That is what it is now. We're differentiating between skin color, but it's the difference by degrees is so minimal between differentiating between another tribe and your own tribe. It's the ability to perceive the internal and external, the out group from the in group.
Okay,
and that's always going to be a factor.
There are a couple of points that we have to address here. First of all, you're conflating tribalism and racism. Tribalism is an innate part of human organization, but that applies to like different high school sports teams. That applies to different families. That applies to people from different cliques in high school, the goths versus the jocks. Tribalism is a human characteristic. We're never going to get rid of it. The best thing we can do is try to teach people to respond to it responsibly.
I would say that
hold on. So you keep conflating that natural characteristic with racism. Our understanding of racism, the way we think of racism today, the way you think of racism, is
you don't know how I think of racism.
I can take a rough guess.
You'd be wrong, probably.
Hold on. Is vanishingly new, okay? Now, humans have been organizing themselves into hierarchies for a long time, but not necessarily racial ones. So the reason why media teaches anti-racism is in large part because people like you still exist, and because we're not that far off from black people being literal second-class citizens here in America. I mean, for God's sake, there are people alive today who had to be force integrated into the Arkansas schools, you know? We are not that far off from them being literal second-class citizens, and the people who were throwing rocks at those little girls being sent into school are also still alive. The idea that like we already lived in some like neutral post-racial society and then the social justice warriors came in to fix it, that is not true. We just had an openly racist president rule this country for 4 years and an openly racist political party support his every decision. The idea, we're not fighting against a mankind's natural order. We're fighting against people like you who organize politically to disseminate disinformation and spread racial hate.
Well, I haven't disseminated any misinformation.
You already have a couple of times in this conversation.
Let's talk about you made mention of high school football teams and the goth clique and this and that. And I'd argue that those manifestations of tribalism only exist because we've broken down any meaningful connection to one's own identity. That these things are a manifestation of a desire to belong to something, where the ability to belong to something essential, which would be race and ethnicity and culture and history, to belong to that group has become stigmatized and made taboo in the modern world over the last 70 years.
So white supremacists don't play football? Wait, what?
Don't play that game with me.
No, wait, you're saying the only reason people engage in petty tribalism is to compensate.
That isn't what I said. If you just calm down for a second and listen.
You're right, I'm getting hysterical, my bad.
Now, I would say that tribalism in the modern world is a manifestation of a lack of essential identity. And you would be foolish to deny. You would be foolish to deny that there, with BuzzFeed and a lot of this, neo media on the internet.
I think heartburn is a product of distance from one's essential identity. The only reason white people experience heartburn is because we're not racist enough. Like, do you have any evidence of this? This is complete conjecture.
There is such a thing as an essential
How?
identity.
What makes it essential?
Well, because it's intrinsic to you.
No, it's not.
It absolutely.
My identity, my skin tone is intrinsic.
I was listening to you earlier, and you were talking about your penis, and you gained a lot of weight because you just got this huge, massive schlong that you got to whip over your shoulder to get through fucking doors, right? You were talking about that. So you are obviously a dude, right? You're a guy. You're a man. You're
Well,
male.
there
Well,
are women with
that's
massive
like-
cocks, you know. There are women who have to whip it
No,
over their
there aren't.
shoulder.
No,
Oh yeah,
there
there
aren't.
are. Yeah, big
No,
ones.
they're not.
I
No,
actually met
no.
a woman with a bigger penis than me one time. It was actually quite, you know,
Well,
interesting.
you met a
experience.
man. You met a man with fake breasts.
No, they were real breasts. They were very squishy.
Are you saying this for shock factor?
No, it's not shocking to anybody
Well,
but you.
it's
Squishy
shocking
boobs?
to-
Does that scare you?
Shocking to most people.
Does
No,
squishy
what-
boobs scare you?
Let me finish a fucking sentence.